only 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, so you got me day drinking.
If there's time, I might run down and make one, but I haven't been drinking a lot of water lately, so I'm just parched.
Yeah, I should probably have more water today, honestly.
It's overrated.
Hydration's overrated. But I did do my yoga this morning, and I had a very healthy lunch. I'm trying to be better about healthy lunches in particular, because I end up just grabbing whatever's available, like cold pizza. That's just not great.
I had a bagel for breakfast and then skipped lunch because I don't generally eat 3 meals a day. Because I stayed up so late, it pushed breakfast into lunch, and so I just ate dinner.
Yeah.
And I might have like a snack later.
I'm so starving by 11:30, and now that I'm doing my regular walks, my goal is by the end of the month to start training for the 5K again.
Okay.
So I'm pushing my walks up to 2 miles 3 times a week to get my knee strength up, and then I'm adding in 1 morning of yoga into the rotation. So we'll see how that works. It's been really good for my appetite because I didn't have an appetite. So I just wasn't eating, and then I get starving, and then I'm like, oh, Cheez-Its, that's a great idea. So stupid.
The one good thing is there is no junk food in my house. None.
Oh, that is good.
And because I only get groceries every 2 weeks, normally what I'll do is I'll get, whatever my groceries, and then I'll put in like a bag of chips, but then the bag of chips doesn't last the night. So
we have like Smart Food, the popcorn, because we get munchies. And I've got pretzels, and I'll dip them in like low-calorie peanut butter. I mean, I don't eat meat. So for me, it's a matter of I need protein from somewhere, and I only eat fish a couple times a week. Otherwise, it makes me sick.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I have to prioritize beans, and I have to make sure I'm like eating eggs and all that good stuff.
My routine has always been like one of those Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches, which are really high in calorie for an average person, but I'm such a big dude, it doesn't matter. And then the only junk food I have in the house is I have frozen yogurt bars.
Ooh, yum.
And they're just decadent enough that it feels like I'm getting chocolate. But I also have sugar-free pudding that it's not a junk food. It's like 60 calories a pack. So
I can't do pudding. It's a tactile thing. I can't, I don't know.
I can't do Jell-O.
Unless I'm sick. If I'm sick, I can do Jell-O, but otherwise, no.
I rage against that all day long.
The only time I crave, so here lately, I've been craving like meat once a month for whatever reason. But when I'm sick, it's really bad. I crave like chicken broth and stuff like that. And I can't have it. It doesn't sit well with me. And that's like really hard. So what I'll do is I'll try to indulge in something like Jell-O, or I'll drink just tonic water without the alcohol. Like I won't have a gin and tonic. I'll just have cold tonic water. But yeah, I don't do a lot of junk food. Like I don't like candy. I just
chips I could eat all day, every day. And it's an easy snack food because you're like, oh, I'll just have a couple.
Yeah.
A couple more and a couple more. And you're like,
exactly.
Why is the bag empty?
For me, it's the touch of lime Tostitos. I could eat an entire bag of those things. Otherwise, I'm like meh about chips.
I do get Tostitos when I get my groceries. I don't really consider it a junk food because it's corn, which, I mean, it's still not healthy, and then I eat it with salsa. So,
ooh, yum.
Because I have to cut potatoes entirely out of my diet, which is problematic.
That's unfortunate.
I'm not supposed to be eating peppers, tomatoes, or potatoes.
Oh my God, why?
Anything that's a nightshade.
Are you allergic?
Yeah, that's what actually causes like horrible skin rash and just...
Oh my God.
But potatoes were easy because French fries or tater tots. Like,
Yeah.
it's not often that I'm like, I'm gonna eat a baked potato.
God, I love potatoes.
Franklin, you're from
It's
Maine.
like-
You understand it.
It's like a staple of like a meal for New
Any
England
cow
staple.
plus potato, entire meal.
Yeah. It's like we always go to McDonald's for the fries.
Every probably once a month at least, Dan will barbecue himself a steak, and I smell it and I'm like, oh my God, that smells good. And then he cuts into it and I'm like, nope, I'm good. I remember why I stopped eating that. I'm all right.
Yeah.
When it comes to a steak, I don't even need it cooked. Just lightly warmed.
Oh no.
Oh, you eat it blue?
I have absolutely no problem with filet mignon in the middle being just about raw.
Oh my God. I can't. Even when I ate meat, I couldn't do that. I could do rare, somewhat rare in the middle, but if there was blood, I was like, you got to put this back on for a couple seconds. I can't do this.
In my house, we fought over the blood juice.
Oh my God.
I think that explains a lot about the
Because you kind of
violence.
make a little bit of a roux, and then you pour it back over.
Oh my God.
No.
I did have a friend. We had a cookout. This was when I was in my early 20s. And we were cooking up stuff. And he's like, I'll do mine last. And everybody's like, okay, whatever. Nobody's paying attention until all of a sudden we see this pink glob. I mean, it's just like this pink thing on his plate. And we're like, what the hell is that? And he had just 30 seconds on each side for his steak and covered it, get this, in cottage cheese.
Ew.
And I was like, I'm going to throw up. It looked like brains. I was like, no.
No.
It was just wrong.
That's like redneck backwoods.
I don't know what this was about. I live in Washington. I mean, I'm sure we do have some rednecks, but I was like, where did you get this?
Franklin, did your family ever do trash can turkey?
We tried one time and it was not good. We did not do it again.
Explain this.
Okay, so for Thanksgiving, what you do is you cook a turkey in a trash can.
Like
Okay.
a metal trash can.
A metal trash can.
Wait, you set it on fire in the trash. You have a trash can fire.
So what you do is you put coals down on the ground and you get it going like a little fire pit, and then you stick the bird on a stick into the middle. And depending on what you like, sometimes they'll like pop open a can of beer and put it in the middle from so the sugar will help cook it. And then what you do is you put a trash can, a metal galvanized trash can over it, and it kind of makes a seal. Then you put coals on top of the trash can so it heats down as well. And you literally just walk away from it. That's it.
So
Yeah.
is it smoky? What's the flavor here?
Some people throw like hickory chips into it and stuff like that, but you're using, coal, so it's super smoky. But it's always fun to be like, hey, do you like trash can turkey? And everyone, you can tell who's from Maine in a room. Because everyone's like, yep, got a story about that.
Well, in Washington, it's usually people, sorry, anybody watching that lives in these cities, it's usually people from like Puyallup or certain parts of Tacoma or like even Ording, that around Thanksgiving, you get this flood of images of people deep frying turkeys and being dumbasses about it and not
dropping it.
Well, or they don't defrost it. They don't defrost it. They drop it in and it fucking explodes.
That's like a nightmare of like you're being burned and then there's nothing to eat afterwards either. So it's like you just lost twice.
But it's always somebody from like Puyallup or Ording or like somewhere in the middle part of the state, and you're just like, again, really? You didn't learn from last year's experiences.
Every Thanksgiving, we watch turkey cooking fail videos.
That's awesome.
It's now it's a tradition. And it always, at some point, someone's house is caught on fire because of the being
No. Well, and this year we always go over to my in-laws' house for Thanksgiving because I haven't eaten meat in probably 5 years. And so even when I ate meat, roasting something, I was like, I don't know how to do this. So we would go over to their house and they make really good turkey. Like both of my brother-in-laws are excellent cooks. They're like amateur chefs. But this year with COVID, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. We're not going to be able to have those kinds of holiday family gatherings. So I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to have to buy a turkey and
Tofurkey.
well, I eat that, but I can't expect Dan and the kids to do that. So I think we're going to get a little bird and I'm going to be like, here, honey, look up on the internet how to cook this.
Yeah.
You get everyone their own little pheasant and it's like a mini turkey.
That's true, except the girls have a hard enough time seeing the turkey on the table and knowing that it used to be alive because they can see the wings and they're just like devastated at the thought. So we have to hide parts of things.
Yeah, you have to like pre-slice it and put that in a plate and be like, here you go, take what you want.
Exactly.
It's just turkey, not
exactly. The year that they saw the wings, they were like, ah!
Just go get the Hillshire sandwich slices and just warm them up.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly. Okay, what the fuck is the ant doing on my wall? That is not good.
So Franklin,
the bugs are making their way in.
I already told her about your new endeavor.
My super secret idea.
I'm so excited to read it. I really am. Are you going to do a pen name?
Oh, yes. I need to. It's not on brand with anything that I've done. So I had to make a total pen name. But yes. I have, to be honest, I did write two erotica stories years ago. And I was like, I'll make a fun pen name. But of course, I did the whole, like, I'm going to make a girl pen name. And I ended up hating the pen name. So I was like, this is stupid. No. So I do have two other stories that I could possibly be like, let's spruce these up and we'll just add them in and be like, here we go. I got three stories. But they were like I don't even know. I did have one friend who reads erotica read one. And she was like, it's not bad. I was like, all right. So I don't know how it's going to turn out, but the characters, I've got them planned, so hopefully something comes out of it, I guess. I don't know.
Are you writing that for the anthology in February?
I don't know if I'm going to... I don't know, because it was just kind of like I'm just going to start, and it came to mind, so I might as well just do it now. But I don't know. If it's short, if I can find a part that's short enough, I could. I just had to figure out what my pen name is going to be. I don't know.
Like pick your favorite girl name of like all time and just do that. And even if it's some like stripper name like Candy, that would be perfect.
Oh my gosh. I did do for one thing that I was working on, and I'm only like halfway done. I wanted all the characters to be like really pretentious, so I just Googled like pretentious children's names, and they were like the most ridiculous. So I have like a full page in my notebook of just like names that I'm like, these are real. This was in their top 10. So in like 5 years, we're gonna find out that these babies have up and named these names. But it's like, oh. So I might choose one of those. So I do have plenty I can pick from, so we'll see, I guess.
I'm just thinking Destiny Kendrick.
Oh my God, I love that.
Oh no. No. I don't know.
It would be on brand. It would be totally on brand.
And then my little tagline for my author bio would be like, it is your destiny.
With sparkles. You have to have sparkles next to it. And like you can animate it like sparkles are falling over your name.
Oh, jeez.
Every story just has poll not included.
Some assembly required.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. This is like my palette cleanser because I just finished two serious projects, so I'm just gonna do it and see what happens. I don't know.
I kind of feel that way about my romance series. I'm so excited to start it, honestly. And I'm starting with this. When we get to sprinting, I'm going to be starting my short story for the anthology. But I am so thrilled. Like I have all 4 of my couples now. I have Pinterest boards started.
Ooh.
I've got plots figured out. I got the power set figured out, where it comes from. I am so excited for this. And I put up one graphic because the first book, the male protagonist is inspired by Lucifer, the title character from the show Lucifer. And so I put up just one graphic, threw it up on my personal Facebook feed, and I got like, I don't know how many people being like, oh my God, I can't wait to read it. And they're gushing about what we love about Lucifer. And I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing.
Yeah, hey, that's a good sign.
I know. I'm really excited. I'm like, yes, let's do this.
I did make a weird like playlist of inspiration for music. So I have my usually my action music one now. I have like my like sappy love songs and like 80s ballads. I was like, yep, this is gonna be needed.
That's awesome.
I have the soundtrack of It's Time to Get It On. Like awesome. You feel like as you're writing, like the light should just auto dim down.
Yeah. And somewhere a bed's vibrating. You're like,
yes. Oh Jesus.
Oh yeah.
You're like the rotating Austin Powers bed with like your laptop just perched like. I'm ready.
I would so do it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So much wrong in one story.
There's got to be a market for that level of erotic cheese. I mean, there has to be.
Hey, just Tingle can do it. It can be done.
That pen name, the fact that first of all it works, Chuck Tingle, and the other fact that I don't think anybody knows who Chuck Tingle really is. He's been able to be anonymous for this long is really impressive.
And,
wow.
And I really do believe it's probably like some 16-year-old boy.
Or like a 90-year-old grandmother. How much do you want to bet?
Oh my gosh.
Probably my mom. She
oh
said
my God. Would you just die with your mom on her deathbed? She's like, I'm Chuck Tingle.
So I listened to the podcast. My dad wrote a porno.
I've heard of this podcast. It sounds hilarious.
It's the podcast itself isn't all that great, but watch the YouTube videos where it's the son and 2 of his friends, and they do dramatic readings, and then they just chime in because the language that is used is so bad that like you stop and you're like, I got some questions. Like, how did this happen?
It's actual published works?
So you don't know who, I'm sure people do now, but when it came out, you didn't know who the dad was or what the story was. He just found out his dad wrote it and decided to do the first time reading in a podcast.
Damn.
Oh my gosh.
That's brilliant.
And, he would constantly be like, I should be really concerned because if that's what my dad thinks happens in the bedroom, how did I...
Oh my God.
I could see my dad doing it.
Could you really?
Oh, yeah.
God, not my dad. Or actually, honestly, if I found out my dad did that, I would be 10 ways from Sunday disturbed. I would just be like, what?
I would have banners made up and put in his front yard.
Oh, no.
You're like buying copies for everybody. My dad wrote this.
Yeah, it would be everyone's Christmas present for the rest of my life.
See, that's why you have to have a pen name and you can't let anyone know. Because that will happen and it'll be like it's nice. Even if you celebrate it, like, I don't want to answer questions about this. I'm just going to put it out in the world and be like, there you go. Speaks for itself.
That's even talking to Justin. He's like, don't read my book. And I was like, I'm reading your book. And he's like, oh God.
Yes.
It's just, I was going to, but I was like, I hate harem, any kind of harem romance. And I can't.
The the opening pages of his are such good character so fast that you're like, you're kind of an asshole and I love you. And
Oh wow.
That's the trick. They've got to be amazing characters right off the bat. Otherwise it all falls apart.
Yeah.
Like all the ones that I've read, they all start off where you're like, oh, I instantly know who this person is, and I want to follow them and see what happens to them. It's like what you're normally told to do in like a regular genre book, but it's like on steroids for the erotica readers. They're like, I need to have an instant impression right now.
And
okay.
His is the opening word to it is guilty, and you realize this dude is being tried for a crime that he didn't commit, and he's being found guilty. And in the first paragraph, it's something like he says, "Fuck you" to the judge, and you instantly are like, ballsy. I want to know more. And it's just, it's so fast into the plot that there's no build up, it's just plot happened. And I don't even know what the crime is yet, and I read the first chapter. So
how many words are they?
His is, I actually don't know off the top of my head. Let's find out.
I think he I don't know specifically for that one, but I think he said he likes to do on the shorter side because he can get them done quicker in a short span. So it's not so much like getting stuck and then being like, oh, I'm only halfway done. Which I was like, I like that. I would love to stop writing 100,000 words per book.
It's 324 pages.
That's probably 75K.
70, 75.
Yeah.
Right around there.
Maybe.
I mean,
that's not bad.
I get really complicated. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep this book simple. And then by the end of it, I'm like, shit, I got 90,000 words because I complicated it.
And the difference in this one, though, is he's basically got to sleep his way across the galaxy. So, I mean, 20,000 of it is just him on his back. I'm assuming.
Or on his hands and knees. Who knows? I mean,
we'll find out. I'm gonna go through and highlight all the fun stuff because I want him to see on his.
You need to do we need to get him to say yes to doing YouTube reading of excerpts where it's like what's his face who played Iago when he read excerpts from 50 Shades of Grey. It was like. And then he brought me into the room. It was all red. You're like, oh my gosh.
You should do that, Franklin. You should do that.
I need a top hat and
a monocle. You need a little monocle.
Mustache.
Yes. Oh my God, we're doing this.
Masterpiece
mustache over your mustache.
Yeah, masterpiece classic style.
You're gonna look like a cashew peanut.
You came to the right place.
We need it set up so you're in a chair reading a book and you're like, oh, hello.
Yeah, hello there.
Just constantly swirling your cognac.
And the level never changes, so you're not drinking it. It's just there.
Oh my gosh.
Or it's one of those prop glasses that people use on stage, which has no liquid in it. So you're doing this with it. You're like,
just stirring nothing into it. Oh boy, it's so much I think I did bring this up before. I feel like, but the stupid Kristen Wiig thing, Spoils of Babylon, where they make fun of the giant 80s epic miniseries adaptations of novels. And
what is this?
It's called The Spoils of Babylon, and they have every episode starts with Will Ferrell playing as the author of the novels and the writer and director, he did it himself, and he always is in this empty dining room with a giant oversized glass of wine, And he's always like, every once in a while, calling for his assistant, and he'll be like, Doris, I need more wine. Come over here. And then she comes, and he has like a little bit left in the wine glass, and she goes to take it, and he's like, no, you leave that one with me as well. I want both glasses. And then she's like, oh, okay. And then she just like leaves the bottle for him and like hurries out of the frame.
Oh my God.
Yes. You need it. You need like a full giant thing of red wine. Just be like, hello there.
One of those like big ass bottles, the ones that are like really heavy to lift.
Oh, it shouldn't even be a bottle. It should just be a box.
A box.
And occasionally you just like fill it up, making perfect eye contact.
It's just sitting there. Oh my God. Oh my God. Somebody should do this.
This is
no.
This is what this is stress and
just reach over and do it.
Well, should we get to writing? Or I mean, this is delightful, but
we're gonna have to. I haven't laughed this much in forever. My jaw already hurts.
Right, I'm back.
I don't know what these muscles are anymore.
Man, people who aren't watching this live, you're missing out.
Oh, that's why.
We lost Franklin.
Franklin's already half in the tank.
That's why he's. I like this. He's like mid-sentence.
He's not actually frozen. He's just standing like that.
He's like one of those birds. Like when you see them, you're like.
You have to look closely for when he blinks.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose we should wait for him to get back.
We probably should. I'm going to work on the short story. That's what I'm going to do. Because I revised one chapter of the upcoming book today. I got to get more of those in. But I'm doing a read aloud pass as I'm also revising, because Dan is giving me notes every chapter, which is great. So far, not a lot of rewrites. And usually there's quite a few by now. So I'm really feeling good about that. But it's reading it out loud is taking the time.
Okay, I'm connected to my correct Wi-Fi extender now, so it should not happen again.
Oops.
It was adorable. You look very cute when you're frozen.
We just assumed that you were holding a pose.
Yeah. It's a superpower.
Yes, of course. It's all part of the plan.
Yes. Because if he's not moving, we can't see him.
Oh my God, that's such a good movie.
It really is.
Love it.
Love it.
Oh, did you see the Batwoman casting?
Yes. Very happy.
I'm pretty stoked about this.
Yes. I'm impressed.
I'm sad that the woman from Brooklyn Nine-Nine didn't get it.
Me too.
But
was she lobbying to get it, or was it? Oh, man.
Yeah. But as long as she's still on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I'm okay.
Well, and they were committed to casting a person from the LGBTQ community, which was great. And I didn't read the article. Like I just skimmed. Oh, look. Oh my God. It's a woman of color. This is amazing. But she's either bisexual or lesbian. I don't know which. She's bisexual. So I'm glad that they stayed true to that commitment. I'm really, because Batwoman is an important LGBTQ superhero. She really is.
Well,
so
she's not going to have many dating options because basically every female in Batwoman is a lesbian.
Hey,
I would say there's been a lot of criticism from other parts of the internet, but I say, you can make the argument like, yeah, you know what, if you're an actor, you should be able to play whatever. But sometimes there really are like nuances that you just won't know if you're not part of the community that you're portraying. So,
exactly.
And I would be okay with it if there wasn't a bajillion actors who already had those traits. Mm-hmm. It's not like she got it because she's bi. She's a talented actress and she's bi.
Exactly. Oh
my gosh, the headshot! I was like, okay.
Yeah,
they really make the Marvel TV look so not as up to par. I feel like the DC shows, they just have it together so much more.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they spend all the rest of their budget on the Snyder Cut.
I'm sorry. I'm still so excited to see what happens. I want to see it was chopped out of Cyborg.
It's like 20 more minutes of Martha.
Oh man.
Actually, Martha should probably be in the movie.
I mean, they talk about her enough.
I was so mad. You know what? The only reason that I wanted to see that movie was because that trailer lied to me. I didn't give a crap about any of the team up or any of that stuff. I wanted that one stupid scene with Lois and Clark, whatever, / Superman, when he's as Clark, in that stupid cornfield where he proposes to her. And that wasn't even in the movie. It was the first shot of their trailer. And I'm like, I'm here for this. It's going to be, I'll finally have finality and be like, if they don't do any more, at least those two characters had the end of their story. And they didn't even go with it.
No,
so
they didn't. They pulled us all. Honestly, I have a very unconventional ship that I was loving, but it's gone now. It's sailed, which was Diana and Bruce. I thought they had really great chemistry. And I've never really hardcore shipped it before then, and I was like, oh my god, I am here for this. Mm-hmm. And the scene where he's like shirtless and she's like looking at his bruises, I'm like, okay, kiss her do it.
You're rich enough, you can pay her.
To steal his girlfriend.
What?
I wanted Wonder Woman to steal his girlfriend.
He didn't have one.
Did he have one in these?
No,
probably on the floor in the Snyder cut.
It's probably
no. Oh, Zack Snyder.
Though I do find it kind of funny because I think Zack Snyder is a complete and utter douchemonger. I love Watchmen, so do with that what you will. But I love now that Joss Whedon's finally getting thrown under the bus left and right.
Yeah, I had a discussion with somebody in real life too. It wasn't even like a Zoom. It was like somebody that I know, and out unprovoked, they were just like, "Yeah, I really can't believe I was so happy that Joss was, being called out because that stupid scene where he reshot for Wonder Woman to fall on the Flash, and he's like." The actress who plays Wonder Woman was like, yeah, that wasn't even really my chest. That was some random person they just found after the fact. And I'm like, that's so disrespectful. That is terrible.
That is. You know what? I blocked so much of that movie out. I totally forgot about that. That was Joss Whedon adding that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
to make it funny.
Like, for all the credit he gets for Buffy, let's negate that instantly with Cordelia.
Don't even get me. Well, actually, he had nothing to do with that because he wasn't working on Angel when that happened.
Oh, apparently he did have something to do with it, and she came out recently about it.
Oh, seriously?
Oh my god!
Because the original narrative was he was off doing Firefly, and the whole original story was, well, I was gone, and poor Charisma got thrown under the bus.
Apparently, he flat out told her, "This is what you get for getting pregnant."
What?
I'm paraphrasing, but exactly that.
In a classy show, they would just write it into the plot and be like, "Okay, then we got months to plan."
We're fighting demons every week. I'm gonna go move to a town nearby so I don't die. Bye.
She had a celestial pregnancy in the first season of Angel. Does nobody remember this?
She gave birth to her own grandson.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Yeah,
super weird.
But so all of that happens, and then he comes in and he saves the Snyder Cut. And again, I'm no high expectations there. But apparently he was such an asshole on set that it started with the dude who plays Cyborg, which this part I don't fully believe is his fault. It's the studio for making him a flat black character. Joss didn't do anything. But then with the Wonder Woman reshots, it's her stunt double or a body double, and not like the woman who was on set for the filming. They were like, we just need a pair of tits, basically.
Oh my god.
Like, we're beyond that in our entertainment now. Like, you don't need to have it, but it's like he has not, and I'm sure it's a tough job to be juggling everything, but you don't need to revert back to like the early 2000s type of comedy because we're
Well, it's high school. It's juvenile. He didn't even do that in Buffy. And there was plenty of great humor in Buffy, but it never degenerated into that.
no.
But my issue with Buffy, and this is the one I die on every time, there's a rape attempt in it.
Yes.
And it steadily gets pushed under the cover until she tolerates him.
She doesn't just tolerate him. She tells him she loves him right before he dies.
Yeah, like
total Stockholm syndrome.
Well, and then in the comics, the season 7, the season 8 comics, which I'm not a Buffy fan at all, so I totally didn't read those. But it's a total thing. Like, will they, won't they? And then, yeah, it's totally swept under the rug because, he feels bad. And they talk about it a little bit when he first comes back, when he first has his soul. And then it's like, it's gone. But there's also some heinous examples of burying your gays in there. I mean, there was absolutely no reason for Tara to die other than, hey, we want Dark Willow to come back, which was just so stupid. Warren is a heinous character, and it just, there were some icky issues, but.
And so the article that came out in Vox, I think, basically calls out Whedon as being the worst kind of feminist, the anti-feminist hiding in feminist clothing. And the more they detailed that out, I was like, everyone gives you so much stand up for props for Buffy, but we seem to forget some of those little details. And not all his fault. I'm sure studio had something to do with some of it, but.
Well, and then there was his wife making that very public statement when they got divorced and how he had gaslighted her about all of his affairs and how some of his affairs were happening on the set of Buffy. And his whole thing was, well, but when you're suddenly you're this man, you're this older man, you've got these younger women looking up to you and just looking at you like, and it just goes on and it gets grosser and grosser. And this whole thing about, I just couldn't help myself. There was these beautiful young women and they were looking at me like I was the most important man in their life. And then he's admitting it like after their divorce, but during the marriage, he continuously gaslighted her. He made her think that she was becoming paranoid. She went to therapy over it. I mean, it was awful. It was really bad. And no actresses have come out. It is really terrible. And no actresses have come out from that time to say, it was me. But I mean, I wouldn't if I was them. I'd be terrified to come out and say, he did this to me.
Especially because, he's still actively employed in everything.
Yeah. And he's Joss Whedon. There's still a lot of people that he has cachet. So it's just, it really broke my heart to find out all that kind of stuff about him.
Yeah, it is. It's a sad state of affairs for a lot of visual entertainment right now because it's like we have instant media communication now. So stuff that they were able to like brush on the rug and keep away from the viewers before is like coming out now. And it's like some shows, like actors have just like been found out to be like totally terrible people, but they were like my favorite characters on the show. So now it's like, do I rewatch the show and just pretend that I guess in the case of Smallville with the whole like Allison Mack thing, I just had to pretend like she's not Allison Mack when I'm watching the show. She's this character. Hard. But it is really tricky because you're watching it and you're getting to seasons where you're like, oh, this is clearly the season where she started joining this cult and her mannerisms have changed and they started writing her differently. And I'm like, oh no, like why? You could have had basically some of the actors from that show basically had like a great life afterwards. Cause I mean, you get royalties and then you just go to conventions where people are like, we loved you so much. And you sign some autographs.
she even started to direct. She was in the
Yeah.
director's chair too, and I thought, oh, this is great. And then to find out, no, she was a total like sexual predator cult leader, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, and I remember watching because it was like maybe like 4 years after the show where you go through your whole like, I wonder what those actors are doing now. Are they doing anything? And of course, for me, it was like
never go to it after the fact.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what's Tom Welling doing? He's not doing anything. He's retiring for a while. But then I found her YouTube channel, and there was around the time where she posted that video where she was like, a lot of you have been wondering what I have been doing. And it's like her sitting in a backyard, just being like, Nexium, it's so great. It's really helped me come out of my shell. And I hope that everyone does this sort of like female outreach that I'm doing. And at first I was like, okay, so she's just joined a nonprofit, whatever. It was totally not that.
Oh my God. Well, Kristen Crew kind of joined for a little, like she came in right like at the end. She was in there, but she was involved with it, but to a lesser degree than Allison Mack. So she was able to get a plea deal and kind of sweep it all under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
And she still is doing stuff. Like she did, I think, the rebooted Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, yeah.
Spectacularly. Like
Jeez,
Tom Welling was actually on season 3 of Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pretty good in that. But yeah, I found out last month with the Black Lives Matter stuff happening, Leah Michele from Glee like tweeted, she tweeted support, and people started coming out like, do you remember this microaggression? And do you remember this? And it opened the floodgates. Like she's a heinous bitch, apparently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, now we can't watch Scream Queens anymore. I'm still gonna watch it anyway.
Yeah.
The character she played on Glee wasn't a character. That's who she was.
Oh, that's her.
And I mean,
but like kept up even more. Like apparently she was awful, like really bad.
Yeah, with the woman who played Mercedes, Mercedes was in everything up until the last season where she only had like one appearance. And the reason apparently she left was because Leah Michele was just pushing all the originals out. And
she made their life a living hell.
It was an ensemble show, so I don't know why you would want to get rid of all your co-stars.
Well, and it's funny because if you remember back to the first season, she sets her teacher up for a drug deal to get rid of him so she can have the lead in the play. And I was like, this is a true life story for you then.
She did like pranks that were really bad. Like some people were like, yeah, remember when you sent me that anonymous letter telling me that it was basically like, oh, haha, I played a trick on you. You thought you had a stalker. And somebody was like, no, that wasn't funny.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
no.
shit like that. Like shit like that she would do, or she would just, if they made a mistake during a scene and she felt like she got it right, like she'd rip them a new asshole. And it was just like complete, utter prima donna, tons of microaggressions against her co-stars of color. It was bad.
On a happy note, the girl who plays the childlike empress in the Neverending Story is coming back.
Really?
For what?
So she is going to be in a show that is all about, it's kind of like a tribute mockumentary type thing about 80s cult fan films that were always like those low rate bad budget films, and starring with her is going to be Sean Astin.
Oh, Sean Astin.
I'm all in.
Neverending Story and Goonies.
Goonies.
What's more 80s?
Seriously.
I hope Sean Astin loses a little bit of weight beforehand, though.
Oh no!
Oh, he's cute.
It was like going from, because I had some coworkers where we're like big Lord of the Rings fans, and when it was like, oh, Sean Astin is going to be on Stranger Things, so it's like, oh, Sean Astin, and then we looked at the set photo and we're like, oh my gosh, Sean, you let yourself go.
He had like I read his autobiography like right after Lord of the Rings, and apparently he does have a really hard time with his weight. It's it's genetic. It's really hard for him to manage.
Yeah.
So when they asked him to gain weight for Lord of the Rings, he was like super nervous, and he worked with a nutritionist.
He played like a really buff guy in a couple of things around the same time, and it's like, holy moly, that does take a toll on your body too.
Yeah. So I wonder if the genetics and everything just kind of caught up with him. But oh god, he was the death on Stranger. Sorry, anybody that you haven't seen it yet, but you should have already.
You should have watched it.
And his death on Stranger Things, I was like crying. I was so devastated. I loved him in that.
Yeah.
I've never been more sexually attracted to a hobbit in my life. And after that, he was on an episode of one of those like tattoo competition shows, and he's just wearing a muscle shirt, and I was like, oh, thank you. So if him and David Harbour could have kissed, that's really the only thing that would have made.
It would have been perfect for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can find that Reddit.
You can find that fan art. Someone's made it.
We're gonna look.
Somebody from Tumblr has probably made that, and in like multiple angles. So
you know they have. I swear to God, though, Elijah Wood was the skinniest hobbit I've ever seen in my entire life. Did anybody tell that kid to eat a hamburger once? They had all the other guys, people playing hobbits, like gain a little bit of weight, and here's Elijah Wood.
Yeah. Maybe they were afraid to give him like a padded suit because it would look weird with his head being like all small.
Can you imagine? He would look like a bobblehead.
Like, well, the Westfarthing crumpets didn't do anything for your face, Frodo.
So I'm not finding artwork of them making out, but someone did an entire series of artwork about Stranger X-Men things.
Oh
my!
Sean Astin as Colossus. I could work with this.
You know, early 2000s Sean Astin could have done that.
Yeah. 50 First Dates.
Oh yes, yeah.
I didn't know that in that movie.
I didn't know that he was in that because I didn't watch it back when it came out. But it was one of those like a few years ago that was like, oh, it's on the like Adam Sandler marathon, and then I was like, what? When did he do this? This is ridiculous. No,
he's so buff in that. I'm like, damn.
Like acting range too. You're playing a bro.
I know.
I need to hijack everything for this because you'll understand in a moment. This is.
It's been almost an hour and we haven't gotten any words in. I'm okay with it though. Oh my God, that is everything.
I want this X-Men movie.
Me too. Instead of the Dark Phoenix piece of shit that we ended up getting. Oh my God, yes. Please.
Oh my gosh. They would all fit.
Holy crap. Wow. I am so here for this. Oh my God.
Oh, that is way too good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes, please. Can we do this? Oh.
Wow. This is the mashup I didn't know I needed.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I actually like that.
I'm not so sure about that one.
Yeah, I'm not.
Maybe. You gotta bulk up a little bit more.
Oh.
That weirdly works.
Is that Mephisto?
That's Mr. Sinister.
Mr. Sinister.
They need to do one episode of the show where it's like a dream hallucination episode.
Something, yeah. Oh my God. You need to link to this somewhere because that is spectacular.
Who knew that was a thing? Thank you, Internet.
Why haven't we gotten that X-Men movie? Why do we get the pieces of crap X-Men movies that we have gotten? I don't understand.
No, because we deserve crap.
Well, and if anybody wants to hear Remy and I complain about this even more, You can go to superherofiction.com, and our latest Geekorama episode is all about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Oh. And did you see the fan art of Allison? No, not Allison. Janet. Why can't I think of her name?
Janet from The Good Place?
The singer. She does.
Janet Jackson?
No, more modern. She's always in a suit.
Janet?
She's.
Damn it, Janet!
But that's not right.
Damn it, Janet. Did you just quote Rocky Horror?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't
man.
know.
They released the Storm. So supposedly Storm's going to be in the next Black Panther.
Oh! Well, if Ryan Coogler's helming the next movie again.
Janelle Monáe.
Oh!
Okay.
Yes. Someone did up artwork of her as Storm, and yes.
Do we have a casting for Storm in the next Black Panther movie yet?
I haven't heard. So
they usually
make a big deal out of casting. Or either they announce it or they'll wait for it to be like, you must watch the teaser trailer, when at the very end they step out behind something and you're like, oh yeah.
Well, so
and they say one cool line like, it's cold in here.
It's up on Screen Rant, and of course Screen Rant likes to pretend that every time they come up with a theory, it's now fact. And so a fan came up with thinking, and she would be perfect. She's perfect in every way to begin with, but a white mohawk on her is like, so tame. So it would just be phenomenal.
It'd be nice to get a decent representation of Storm. We haven't had one yet on film.
I didn't mind the girl from.
Was it
Apocalypse?
The day.
Yeah, I didn't mind her performance. What I minded was how it was written.
Yeah,
that's what I minded.
Yeah, I feel like some of the Fox movies, it's like if they don't have like a major star power behind it, then it's not written well, because when you have somebody who has a name, they're more demanding to be like, this is what I'm going to be known for like the next 10 years. Needs to be good. So it's like you kind of have the power to say like, please write it well, until they just throw it all away. In X-Men 3.
I've decided my Hollywood casting for my superhero novels. I did my fantasy casting. I'm gonna go hit them all up on Twitter now.
You should.
I went and grabbed every handle. I have over 100 actors.
Nice.
Whoa.
Do it.
So, Tyler Labine, it's not like you're doing anything else. Get on this.
You looking for work? Because I got something for you.
Hey, I mean, Deadpool should have never happened. If it wasn't for Ryan Reynolds, that movie was
true.
Dead.
That's true. Thank God he gave us a better Deadpool.
Yeah.
Honestly, I blocked all that out until he dredged it back up in the films. And then I was like, dude, no.
I also loved at the end, the end, I think it was the first one, in the end credits, when he's sitting at the desk as himself, and then he's like reading a script, and it shows that it's Green Lantern, and he's like, you made it, kid. And then he shows up behind himself and just shoots himself in the face, and he's like, I saved you from that one.
That was the second one. They show him like going, they actually show him in the credits, he like skips through time.
Yeah.
So he like goes
to
that movie and he's just standing in the doorway, and all we see is the Wolverine claws and a hand, and he's like, hey, don't scratch me with those, okay?
Oh, I loved all of the Wolverine jokes because that came out after Wolverine with his final hurrah, where it's just like, you just couldn't keep up, could ya? Oh no, Hugh Jackman.
I
All
love
right.
all the digs.
Sprint in 2 minutes.
Oh my
Oh
god,
my gosh,
Rex.
what am I going to work on? I gotta work on the rest of my actual short story that I have planned for this anthology.
So far, we have 3 stories for the anthology.
God, we're actually gonna do some
And
work.
I think Justin's going to put in one now.
Oh, really?
That would
That'd
be
be
great.
cool.
Under Jamie Hawk or Justin?
Under Jamie.
Ooh.
Because
Is he wait? Is he okay with us making his name public? Okay.
It's on his author profile.
Oh, okay. Some people
just-
are really funny about that, so I didn't want us to like out him.
He just did it to separate brands. He didn't want young adult finding that. But he's going to try and release 3 books. I think he said in January for his reverse harem series, or one of them, or a new series in that world. And he was like, this will be a nice capstone for that. And I was like, oh, good. You treat it as a capstone, and I'm going to treat it as the start of mine.
A capstone, really? Well,
because he bangs out like 100,000 words in a weekend.
Oh, here.
Oh
I'm
my
gonna join the
gosh.
sprint. That's a crazy. All right, I joined the sprint. Keep forgetting to do that.
Have to go find my soundtrack.
Hey, for our competition, really quick, what are we using the spreadsheet that we've had for word counts, or are we making a new one?
Just use the one we have.
Okay.
I'm ahead of you by 1,162 words.
I know. I had to have lunch with my.
Faster than me. I have to win with endurance.
I had to eat lunch with my daughter and watch this really weird show with her. She loves it. I love her. It's kind of funny. I don't get it, but that's okay because she's my baby and I love her. So I watch it with her.
Hey, as long as she slows down your word count.
All right. My clock says it's time to sprint.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Time. Wah wah. I'm always going to be last.
I didn't see the. Hold on. Hey! Wow, I just barely beat you, Franklin.
Yeah.
And Remy, you're not that much behind us. You're pretty close.
No.
I'm just going to stay up till 3 a.m. so I can win.
Oh my god, dude. That is probably how you're going to win, is that you don't have kids.
Hey, I made this bet knowing exactly what the stakes were.
I know. I did too. But it's a good motivation for me.
Because if I can do 2 weeks of 20,000, this book's done in 2 weeks.
That's great.
Mhm.
And then if I can do 20,000 after that for the romance books, that's a book every 3 weeks.
That's not bad, dude. At all.
Yes.
I think I discovered as I'm writing the short story, because I just have the basics figured out, I'm kind of really trying to do some plotting and pantsing combination of the two. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to have to add some demons into this, maybe. I'm playing with the idea because it's, hey, Alley Cat, 79 words. That's awesome. It's an angelic superhero thing. And I think the expectation might be demons with that. I don't know. So I don't know. I'm just playing with it in the first draft of the short story. We'll see.
It's where the fun stuff is discovered, is when you're like, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm just going to write it. I'm going to let it flow. If I don't like it, I can always take it out. Because it's the first draft.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of know what I want to do for that series just because of the short story. But I started thinking more about the villain. Once I have the villain, I think everything else will fall into place. So, but my villain isn't going to be like super duper evil dude. It's, you know, just some bitter dude at this point.
I think I'm going to make the villain. You and I were talking about this. I don't think I'm going to make it the father's brother. I think I'm going to make it the father's best friend.
Okay.
And he's pissed off because they were partners, damn it. And his friend got this artifact and it should have been his. He should have been the one that got it and that it bonded to. And he's really fucking furious. And then when he finds out that the kids all have their own rings, he's like, what the fuck, man? He's like, ugh. And that's all. It's kind of why I want to bring like demons into it a little bit, where he's kind of figured out, okay, if there's enough of them and they're all using their powers, I can open up these gates and then that'll be my power. Like I can have power and it'll be like this. I think that's what I'm going to play around with. That megala,
You can play around with some puns too, where you can have him say, your demons have come back to roost.
Something like that. Yeah. Well, the dad is disappeared. Nobody has seen him in like 10 years. So the kids are all like, well, whatever. We have no idea what happened to dad, but they all were given these rings and they just think, well, they're just family crest rings, whatever. Like they have no idea that they actually contain like angelic powers. And 2 of them are from fallen angels and 2 of them are from non-fallen angels. And it ends up like transforming them into like either like 7 foot tall angels or 7 foot tall, like devil looking ones. It just depends. I'm just going to play with it. Like I told my husband, I was like, I am going to play with all the things I love about paranormal and superhero and romance. And I'm just going to throw them in a blender and see what happens. I'm really excited.
I like discovering, like discovery writing, like at least half of something, because there's always something that I didn't plan on that I'm like, oh, good. If I had just stuck to my initial, like, noted, whatever you call them, the note cards stack, I would have never figured this out. So it's like you always have to you're gonna either start with, for me, it's like you start with half of it. I usually do the whole thing, but I usually throw out the end if I use the outline for the beginning, or the other way around. If I discovery write to the halfway point, then I stop and I try to outline it to know where I'm going.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So you never, either way, when you get to the midpoint, that's always the most difficult part for me.
It is, yeah.
So from there, you're just like, okay.
I usually have an idea of how I want it to begin and how I want it to end, and then like a couple things I want to happen in between. But like the book I'm releasing next month, the ending, I'm writing the second, third draft. I'm trying to get it done, and the ending like still totally surprised me. I was like, oh yeah, actually that's how it has to happen. But then I went ahead and wrote it, and I'm like, but I have to go back and like change a couple things, and like I actually have to set this up a little bit better. So I had to go back and like add some stuff. And I like it when that happens. Like, to me, that feels much more of a rich, like everything is connected kind of way to do it. But you have to be willing for it to look a little ugly in order to get there, I think.
Yeah, it's much easier to insert stuff than to, I feel like, than to rip stuff out when I'm like, oh no, this didn't even work.
I know, exactly. I'm like, buddy, I have to go through the whole book now and find every reference to it. I hate that. Yeah,
because then you're like, did I miss a spot? Oh no. Which I've done before. Where it's like, this person was a boy before. Why are they a girl now? Because my search and find didn't find this spot.
So, exactly.
Yeah. No, you're just being very gender fluid.
Yes.
Yeah. They can be whatever you want. They can be whoever you want.
It can be anybody.
It's up to you. That's why I don't know if you ever read the series of Unfortunate Events books when they were a big deal.
My oldest read the first couple of them.
They had a part of the villain troupe. It was such ahead of its time. Where it's like they have a villain who is part of the troupe, and he is described. Well, I guess it's a he or a she, but is always described as the person who looked like neither a man nor a woman. So you're like, what are they? They're neither a man nor a woman.
They're neither.
Whichever one. They're whichever one they want to be at the moment. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting and hilarious.
That is brilliant.
But in the movies, and even in the show, they didn't really do what I imagined. In the movie, they did a kind of like half the person was dressed like and had makeup like a woman, but the other half was wearing a tuxedo and the short hair like a man. And I was like, that is not what I imagined this person looked like whatsoever.
You didn't do it right.
Yeah, you did not do this right. This is terrible. But in the book in my head, it was really great. So
that is the only bad part about books I really love. When I hear they're going to make them into a movie or a TV series, I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I want you to. Like, HBO is it HBO or Showtime? I forget which one is supposed to be developing the Cushiel series by Jacqueline Carey into a show. And that's something that she resisted for years because she was like, nope, nobody is going to be willing to go to do what needs to be done. Nobody's going to be able to do it right. And then Game of Thrones came out. And she was like, okay, first of all, mine is consensual BDSM. What you saw on Game of Thrones was not. She's like, but maybe if they want to, we can talk. And so they're in talks right now. But I'm super nervous because I adore those books. And I just know it's not going to be as good as what's in my head. I just know it.
Yes.
It's being done by Stars, so it's going to suck.
Oh no! See, the sad thing
they
about
did Outlander though.
They did do Outlander. They're still doing Outlander. But I will say the sad thing about TV shows now, it could be TV shows or movies. Movies is more of a greater chance that it will be a disaster because you're trying to cram so much into so little time. But on TV, it's like back in the day, like these authors that saved their stuff for so long, it was because the visuals could not live up to what they had written. But now we're at the point where the visuals will absolutely look like what you want, but it comes down to the adapting where your writing has to be flawless. Otherwise it all is like destroyed from the foundation because it'll look gorgeous, but it'll have no substance. So you really have to have someone that is really a fan and devoted to your books to adapt. Otherwise, it's going to be like, oh, well, it's the Cliff Notes version. And you're like, that's
The nice
terrible.
thing about
Exactly.
Crucible is that there's no special effects.
You'd probably have to CG the cities and the tower.
But that doesn't come until like book 3.
Yeah, the tower. Yeah, that's true. The tower is probably going to be the most special effects you need, but
there's the demon in book 1, but they could actually skirt around that. And
there's a demon in book 1?
Because remember, there's the blood cult that tries to summon a demon.
That's in book 1?
Yeah, it's the man she falls in love with that comes to find out he's just using her.
Oh,
Isn't that
that's a
always
different
the
one.
way?
That's the so there's 2 different series. There's Phaedra and there's I forget his name. But you're right. So Phaedra's books are Kushiel's Dart. I forget the other ones, but there's 3 of those, and the ones you're talking about are the last 3. I think it's a 6-book series.
In Kushiel's Dart, they try to summon a demon, and they're using her as her connection to Kushiel to summon the demon. And the demon starts to come through, but then like something goes wonky and it falls apart. But that, for the first 3 books, that's the only mention of magic.
Are you sure? Because I've read that thing like 5 or 6 times, and the bad guys are basically like Vikings. They're Viking dudes coming into France basically and like trying to obliterate everything. I don't know, because the guy she falls in love with is a warrior priest.
No, not him. He comes much later in the book. This is in. So you know when she leaves the house and joins the dude who raises her?
Yes.
It happens then. She hasn't even gone out on her first mission when it happens.
Is she still a kid?
Yeah, she's young.
Okay, I'm going to have to go back because I have no memory of that. That's so weird.
Her
father figure, basically.
Because it's Anafiel Dulaney that trains.
Anafiel, yeah. Anafiel trains her and what's his bucket? And then they die. What?
Alcuin.
Alcuin. I love these names so much. So Alcuin, but Alcuin and Anafiel end up dying because what's her face is grasping for power, and she sets Phaedra up for it, and sends Phaedra and Jocelyn. She sells them as slaves, basically up north. And that's what the rest of it is. But I think you're right. I think there is some kind of like weird.
And he pops up. So in the first book, she's mostly there. Then she gets sold off. And then she eventually comes back and he's still there. He shows up as one of the court villains later.
Okay.
And he's like because everyone in that goddamn universe is related.
They really are. But that's not an effects type. I mean, they might want to do some effects, like if they're showing the city, because it's supposed to be like astronomically gorgeous. But you're right, Franklin, it would be the adaptation. And I honestly hope they have a good amount of women in that writer's room, because it's a very female sex positive book. The whole series is.
Yeah.
And to not have women in there as part of that sensitivity, that would really miss some things.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go back and read that now. I totally forgot about that.
I feel like we can tell the adaptations that are like, oh, clearly they just owned the rights to the property, and a bunch of people who have never read it were like, let's just skim this. I don't have time.
I know.
And you're like, what? No.
Well, these are really big books. Like this is a big series.
Yeah, the longer stuff lends itself so nice to television now, where it's like there really is no excuse to not do it justice. Yeah. It's episodic to begin with because you just lump the chapters together until there's a good cliffhanger.
Exactly.
And you got an episode. Like, really.
I'm
still grieving Game of Thrones being
done. Man. Oh.
It hasn't been replaced for me yet. Something will come along.
Yes, it will.
And the problem with it though is most of these networks won't give it the breathing room it needs to be a story.
It's true.
Because in Kushiel, the first season would be leading up to the fire in the house. That's what, page 100?
Yeah, it's a huge book. There's so much. Also, the thing that I think is going to be super hard about Kushiel is the mythology. The mythology of that world is everything. And without doing a ton of exposition dumps, I don't know how you do it. I really don't.
That's where it takes a creative screenwriter to figure out, like, you obviously, like, in Harry Potter there was stuff where they just read random stuff in books, and you can't just film your characters reading a book and then going, oh, of course. So it's like you need someone that will be like, I'm going to keep the essence of this chapter, but I'm going to make it given to you in an organic way that doesn't rely on somebody like just reciting a monologue, or like, it's the cheap way out is to have them just stand there and go, yes, because of such and such. And it's like, oh no, don't do this.
Or you could do what they did with the original Dune movie and just have Virginia Madsen's head floating in space in like a 15-minute monologue about spice.
Oh no, this is when I check out. The movie hasn't even begun.
They started it. Yeah, but according to my husband, if you were a 12-year-old boy and you saw like hot 20-year-old Virginia Madsen just sitting there, you wouldn't have checked out exactly.
Not really, but...
And the problem with Kushiel is, okay, so we have this group of young girls who work in a whorehouse, but not like a tacky whorehouse, an upscale, loving whorehouse. But they're like 12.
But they don't take clients. Hey, she kept it good. You're trained in, like, this is what I loved about it. This is why I think it's sex positive, is because it's like you figure out your personality and then, like, okay, you would like to go to this house where they believe sex is revelry and fun. You want to go to this house where they believe that sex pleasure is also conjoined with pain. You know, like, they send them to these houses when they're like at an appropriate age so they continue their training. I guess when you put it like that, it actually does sound kind of hanky, but
like, don't get me wrong. and I mean, don't get me wrong, like, she learned sex at a very young age, which, I mean, in grand scheme of things, like, not a big deal, but
yeah,
to put it into a movie,
you got to be really careful.
Yeah, you would almost have to pull out the sex element and almost just make them, orphanages for girls.
Well, but they don't have the thing that they're very, like, that didn't make it creepy for me reading it, though, is that none of the children are touched in a sexual way. None of the children even they're aware of sex. Sex is woven into the very fabric of the society in a positive way, but they don't see it until they're older. They don't learn about it until they're older, but it's there. They're very much aware that, like,
I
for
don't
instance,
think it's until she's 16 that she goes to the night court.
No, yeah, she goes to a viewing. She and Alquin go to a viewing so they can see sex. Basically, it's a performative sex theater, right? I don't know where else to put it.
I mean, it's basically watching it's basically that health video that no one really wanted to watch in school.
Yeah.
Now it's Shakespeare.
Yeah, it's two people from houses, and men and women can both be servants of Nema. And so it's a man and a woman who's a servant of Nema, and they go in and they do, like, the classic parts of the sex manual. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I actually think. Game of Thrones, I mean, in episode 1, we have some racy incest happening on screen. Stars.
Outlander was pretty. Outlander shocked me. Actually, Jamie's rape scene
Oh my
was,
gosh.
it was very well done in terms of like, I don't know how to put it. It feels weird to say that a rape scene was well done, but it wasn't for sensation, I guess, is the difference. Like it was done with a lot of sensitivity to the text and the situation. And their sex scenes too are done, I think, very well. Like they're not pornographic, but they're titillating. They're like, woo, okay, that's kind of nice, and he has a nice ass, that kind of thing. But I wonder how they're going to do it, because the sex is everything in that book.
And it's not just sex. I mean,
it's BDSM. It's bondage.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't
whips.
end up like 50 Shades of Grey, where they're like, we're just going to have nothing in this movie. It's going to just be a bunch of people slapping whips and that's it. Well, I read those books, and there's a lot more in there that you just were too ashamed to do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I mean, because the more, and the premise is very interesting in the fact that the more pain she experiences, the more pleasure she derives, because she is connected to a god whose pain is like the whole thing.
The way he shows love is to inflict pain on people so that they will be able to free themselves from their guilt. That's in a nutshell. So for her, the act of being bound and whipped prior to penetration is a holy act.
His name is Roland Delacarcel.
Ah, that guy. Yeah, now I remember. Roland. Roland is an asshole.
I mean, even the name, you were like, you're a bad guy.
Yeah. He only thing he was missing was a twirly mustache. Like he's a jerk.
Yeah,
I'm nervous about those books, though. I'm really, really nervous about those books.
I feel that would have been a much better Netflix series, except for, Netflix cancels everything after a season.
Yeah, I researched why that, well, not just the one season thing, but most Netflix shows don't get more than 3 or 4 seasons, mainly because if they reach 4 seasons and they decide to go beyond, there's some clause in their contracts where all the actors and crew get like a giant pay raise. So they basically try to wrap up before the 4 seasons to be like, it's a 3 season and done. And it's like, oh, that's kind of bad, but I mean, at least write your shows so that it has an ending. But if you're only going to do 3 seasons because you don't want to pay them. But
well,
I don't know if that's still the case, but
Glow got a 4th season, but it's their last one, which is fine. I think I'm glad that they're only doing, I think they can do it in 4 seasons, honestly, for that show. I'm not too heartbroken about that. Grace and Frankie got like 5 though, didn't they? I don't remember.
Maybe. There are some where I feel like they needed the recognition, so they were just like, fine, we'll pay it. Like they're obviously, I remember the days where they were like, yeah, Stranger Things, we don't see this going more than 3 seasons. And that was obviously because they were going off of, if it doesn't do well, Netflix will never give us more than 3 seasons.
Yeah.
But now it's like their main show, so they're not going to be like, okay, fine, we're not doing more than 3 seasons. Like they're going to continue it as long as people keep subscribing.
4th season,
so
it's over.
And they once they make merchandise for any of the Netflix shows, it's like a foregone conclusion that they're not going to make T-shirts of this if they're not going to continue it forward. Hopefully,
exactly.
The showrunners for Stranger Things won't sign on for a 5th season.
It's going to be negotiation like to the max.
Well, and I honestly think because they wrote the entire storyline for 4 seasons. Sense8 was written for 4 seasons, and then never ever meant to go further.
Because they're working. Yeah, they're basically it's like you do what you got to do as a show creator and writer. Is like you don't want to get to a certain season and then have all your fans be like, well, we never got the ending because it was just canceled. So it's like you do it for the fans and you make sure that they get like satisfaction out of like a long form ending. Which I think is nice because I hate shows where they're just like, well, somebody didn't like us, so you'll never know what happens. At the ending of this series will be a blog post, and we'll just summarize what we would have done.
This is what we would have done.
It's happened to me like 3 times in my life where I'm like, no.
And that I won't start a show like if I'm gonna be invested. Like I've been watching Warrior Nun. If it got canceled, oh well.
I'm really liking it, yeah.
But Sense8 was one of the only shows to get so much pushback from fans that they gave them a budget for a finale.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like Santa Clarita's Diet, zero budget for that, other than their salaries.
Yeah.
Canceled.
That show, I loved that show.
It got good and canceled.
It was so good. And whatever, Drew, you can do no wrong, really.
And Drew
I watch
Barrymore,
anything that you do.
Never thought you needed Drew Barrymore eating people alive, but then
it was just such a quotable show for me. It was like, thanks, food police. You've eaten today. Go and get me that body.
It doesn't really count if it's a Nazi, right?
Yeah. Oh boy, we're gonna go kill people, honey. I'm gonna kill people for you. Like, thanks. I love you so much, babe. I love you. It was so good. Oh man. Oh wow.
But yeah, I've gotten into the point where I don't like watching shows until they get done. Because Orange is the New Black was the weird one.
That got like 6 seasons or something crazy.
I think it was 7 seasons. And well, it was also Netflix's first.
It was a hit out of the park too. It was a critical success. It was a fan success. It was quite amazing, honestly.
And because Netflix doesn't report Nielsen ratings, they can just be like, oh, no one watched it. We canceled it. Me and 17 million other people have some issues.
Yeah. I wonder if one day, I mean, they probably will never have to, but I wonder if they will someday be like, here's our numbers.
Oh,
they probably won't, because that's their only shield to investors to be like, yeah, it's doing really well.
They're totally not going to do that.
Because I remember when they did that stupid werewolf show.
Was it Teen Wolf?
No,
because that was just a train wreck.
Oh no, I had somebody that I know who has watched every season and owns all the DVDs. But
oh my god.
No, it was like something county. I forget. It was right after they did their Kevin Spacey show. And it was like, here's our next, and it was like a gritty, creepy, and I feel like it only got like 2 seasons, and then it was like literally no one is watching this.
It was really atmospheric. Like the trailer made it look like really atmospheric, kind of thriller-like. But everybody I know that watched it was like, okay, this is not what you promised.
Yeah, they advertised
the show was something totally different.
Oh yeah, it looked like it was going to be like a True Blood, but it was not.
Yeah.
So.
Can I just say, True Blood, when it was at its ridiculous level, it was good.
Are you talking the orgy season?
It doesn't even. Oh God, that season I actually suffered my way through. It was so
bad. It was so bad. I was like, okay, I don't have a problem with porn. I really don't. But I don't want to watch porn. I want to watch True Blood. But like every episode, okay, here's another orgy. Thanks. It was so weird. They went really off the rails from the books, like in a huge way.
And my issue with it wasn't even the whole like orgy side of it. It was just the meat monster.
Yeah. They did some really off the wall things. And I actually love that they didn't kill Lafayette off, because I love his character. I really loved it. But then the last 2 seasons, I'm like, where the hell is Lafayette? Like,
yeah, why'd you save him?
Where is he?
And I have to admit, granted, I'm glad like they tackled some real things, but when he started like the drug problem, I started tuning out at that point because I did not want this show to ever be serious. I wanted it just to be Sookie over and over again.
The only thing I was hanging in for was Sookie and Eric.
Yeah.
That was it. That was what I was hanging in there for. They did that season. I'm like, well, here comes the breakup. And then when they broke up, I thought, well, it's still got Eric in it, though. I think I'll watch. Because I'll be honest, I never liked Bill. I didn't like Bill in the books. I didn't like Bill in the show. I was like, Bill, somebody just needs to drive a stake through you. And what do you know? The last episode, Sookie drives a stake through him. And I was like, thank you.
Thank you for giving me what we wanted.
I think in the first season, they were like, oh, we're going to have Anna Paquin and we're going to try and make this kind of a serious drama. And then they were like, oh, man, we casted Anna Paquin. So let's play to our strength, which is not acting.
Let's. They did. What I think is hilarious is she and the actor that played Bill ended up getting married like in the middle of the show. And what's funny to me is with some actor couples that happens to, you can tell when it happens because it's like they get really self-conscious all of a sudden. And their connection on screen, I was like, well, it wasn't good before, but what the fuck happened now? I was just like, no.
It would have been better watching romantic affairs between action figures.
Exactly.
It was that.
I would have paid for that. Yeah. A lot less awkward.
And then the redhead from Daredevil.
Oh, yeah. She was so annoying at first.
At the beginning, you were like, just kill her. Please.
Just kill her. Kill her now.
And then it got weird, and then her brother with the erection, and like,
she started to be a really interesting character, and then they locked all the vampires in a concentration camp and forced some of them to have sex with one another, and I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah, I was like, what is the point?
I'm like
they threw a bunch of darts at a board and they were like, here's our themes. This, and this. Make it work.
It's not even in the books. Like half of the show isn't even in the books.
It's HBO, right?
No.
Yeah,
it was.
So HBO is notorious for cashing in and then overstaying their welcome. Because you have like the shows like Oz, where in the last season it becomes like a drug haze, and then they're like, we don't know what to do, so let's just kill them all with anthrax.
Yeah, they never really have an ending clearly planned, especially when it's a series. Like the same thing for True Blood, the same thing that happened to them also happened to Game of Thrones, where it was like, oh, the author was clearly still writing books in the series, and they were like, yeah, this is a big deal. Who cares what your ending is for those books? We're going to do what we want. And then the authors are always like, oh, no, but here's what I've planned. You can't do that. And they're like, doesn't matter. We're going to do our totally own thing. And it's always like, well, your rewatchability for the final seasons of your shows is terrible. We always just pretend the final seasons don't happen. Unless something really amazing happens.
I think they thought, what?
Sopranos, for instance.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah. And people are still angry. People still rage post about that.
It's the number one worst ending of a show of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they really had no clue how to end it. It's like, all right, whatever.
They didn't have any ideas at all. And it was with True Blood, though, like I have to admit, I didn't read all of the Sookie Stackhouse books because I just got done after a while. I was like, this is the same plot recycled. I can't do it. So I don't know how she ended the series, but I would imagine it wasn't the way the show ended.
No, because she killed characters in those books that they were like, the actor is too good. We can't possibly kill them. And I'm like, okay, you're going to keep them around, but you have to find stuff for them to do, though.
Yeah, well, and in the book, she did have what's basically vampire AIDS, but it came up every once in a while, but it wasn't a thing. And then HBO kind of was like, ooh, vampire AIDS, let's do that. And they made like 2 seasons out of it. It was dark and like whole entire towns were murdered because crazy vampires, and it was just like, okay, what am I watching? This has nothing to do with how it started.
But
Yeah.
I still think, I mean, while the original premise, vampires can come out of the dark
Mm-hmm.
because they no longer have to feed on humans,
Mhm.
is one of my all-time favorite, like, reworking a classic,
Yep.
modernizing it,
Mm-hmm.
and weaving it right into modern day world. And
Mhm.
it was as simple as artificial blood.
Yeah. And then you make like you talk about all the prejudices and fears that people have around them and what happens with that, and like, and then the author did get a little like, I'm going to throw everything in, because you had werewolves and you had fairies and you had, that was the weirdest thing in the books and in the show for me. I was like, so she's like a quarter fae and her blood is addictive. Okay, like, let's go with that. Like, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it love the premise. Not
Execution was lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I will say though, again, I like my stuff a little on the ridiculous end, so as long as the ridiculous makes a little sense, I can fly with it.
Yeah.
Giant
Mhm.
meat statues, not so much.
That was horrifying. I got to admit, I was like, is that like chicken and steak and a pig head? Like, what the hell am I looking at?
And if I remember correctly, it had nothing to do with the show. Like,
No,
Yeah.
it didn't. Not really. Anyway, I gotta go. I gotta go start some dinner.
Okay, I'm gonna do one more
Yes.
sprint, and then I'll probably head out too.
Okay. Thank you guys. This is actually so much fun. I love this. We haven't done this in forever, you guys. This was great.
And
Yes.
I'm sober.
Oh my gosh.
I was buzzed. That must not have been as strong a margarita as I thought it was. Oh well.
Yeah.
I know.
There's always next time.
There's always next time. Wait till next time, man.
Yes.
All right. You guys have good sprints. I will see you both later.
See ya.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye. I think I may have to run as well because I do have to. I have dishes I haven't done before I turn in.
Okay, I mean, it has been 2 hours.
Yeah, and it's like the type of thing where it's like, oh, how many glasses have I used in the past couple of days? Like all of them. If I want to use one, I'm gonna have to wash it right away.
I have a dishwasher, and it has never gotten as much use as it has in the last 3 months.
Oh boy, yeah, it's such a luxury to have, and it's like I don't mind hand washing because like it would be way more work to be like let's get a dishwasher somewhere installed in this rickety old place. But I'm like, oh no, after like 3 days you're like, I really have to be an adult now and do this because I don't have a maid. It's not gonna happen by its own.
And it's not a whole lot better with a dishwasher because I let the sink fill, and then I'm like, okay, I have a load in the sink, so now I'll swap it over. If I was smart, I would every time do one or two as I use them, but I just made food. I'm gonna be lazy now.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not gonna do the dishes before I eat my delicious meal that I slaved over. Like, come on.
All right,
goodness.
I will let you go. I'm gonna do another sprint with Alley Cat
Do it up.
because I need to win this competition with Trish.
You can do it. You've got a good head start.
Yeah, I'm banking on those kids really working in my favor.
Well, have fun, and I will chat with you later.
Okay, good luck with the dishes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, I'm going to hop into a sprint. I'm mid-scene, so I kind of know where I'm going for once. We'll see if it actually pans out. Woot! 450 words, which for me ain't too shabby. That puts me up to 2,149 for today. We'll see if ooh, almost at 250,000 for the year, which is more than I've written in a very, very long time. So I'm kind of stoked about that. Last year I wrote 186,000. Year before that, 112,000. And the year before that, about 140,000. So I am already 100,000 words over my last year. So for me, that is pretty darn good. All right. I need to sign off. I need to go do some chores as well. Franklin has apparently rubbed off, and I should go do some dishes and some laundry. And then tonight I am plotting some story stuff. So still got plenty to do. Just kind of taking my sweet time getting there. All right. We will be back. We're going to start. We're trying to do more during the day. It's just really hectic, but we will definitely be back for Sip and Sprint. So, and next time I might even get drunk. So we shall see. All right. Take care, and I will chat with everybody later.